Sometimes you try to do everything right and it still backfires. Who are her sensitivity readers? How many does she have? My name is Taylor Rose and welcome back to my channel where we talk about everything reading and writing. I do want to start off this video saying that the author we're talking about today did take steps to rectify the situation. So I'm not here to vilify them or anything, but this is more to shed a light on things that you should be thinking about when you are trying to publish a book or writing a book. Today, Threads was kind of in an uproar because an author posted asking if they were wrong in a situation. So this is the original post that I actually saw first. We have this post here by the author saying, "This morning I had an ARC reader reach out about the use of the name Katrina. I was taken a bit off guard as I had several sensitivity readers on the book, all of which who gave it the all clear. Still, I wanted to take these concerns seriously. I proposed concerns about changing the name this close to release, unsure if it is something I can pull off. I also proposed adding additional content warnings. She then proceeded to post about me on Threads and block me before I could defend myself. I have no intention of tagging her or mentioning names because to me, this isn't about a smear campaign. This is about righting a wrong. Within the hour of this being brought to my attention, the post was made. All I wanted was time to talk to my team about what we can do to fix this 2 weeks out from release. Additionally, I'm not absolving myself of any responsibility or blame. I am simply stating that if you see this post, please know there is more to it and I'm actively looking into what can be done. Going forward, I will broaden my team of sensitivity readers and give myself more time between arcs and release for things like this. I am a new author. All I can do is learn from my mistakes and to do better going forward." Lastly, it was asked why I couldn't just find and replace the name. There are a couple of brief discussions involving her name that will need reworked or deleted, as well as multiple nicknames that would need entirely changed. Again, I'm not ruling this out as an option, just pointing out that there is a reason it takes more than that. Right off the bat, you're going to hear this and think, oh, weird, someone just got mad that you used a specific name in your book? Like, that's so strange. A lot of people in the replies were saying, that's ridiculous. You can't tell people not to use names. It's a real name that people have. However, you can see 30 minutes later, the author decided to clarify. The book is called Eye of the Hurricane, by the way, just to add context. Okay, way to bury the lead there, honey. Right. So at first I was totally on her side. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's ridiculous. Like if we had to stop using names that were involved in anything bad potentially ever, like can you imagine how many names would be left? Like 0. But context is really important. I just kept scrolling thinking, oh well, that poor author, some people are just overzealous. And then I came across this post by Starfire Books. She says, okay, question. Do y'all think it's okay to have the word hurricane in the title of your book, then name the female main character Katrina? The answers were yes, no, and it's insensitive. When I saw this post, it was about 25% yes, 60% it's insensitive, and then the remainder, like 15 or so, was no. Starfire also posts screenshots of a conversation she had with the author asking her about the situation. So you can see here that Jazz is talking to Libra of Wands, who is the Jensen Kate author. Hi, I just opened my ARC and saw the FMC's name is Katrina. Is there a reason for that? And Jensen says, all of the FMCs in the series names tie into the type of weather in the title. Audra means storm, Katrina is one of the most famous hurricanes of all time, etc. Jazz responds, I understand, but don't you think it's insensitive since a lot of people passed away during Hurricane Katrina and those who survived could still be dealing with trauma? Jazz continues, I'm going to pass on the ARC. Thanks for sending it, but I cannot read this book. Jensen then says, I did have sensitivity readers for that topic specifically. My intention was never to offend or trigger anyone. I made sure to include those warnings in the trigger warnings and the author's note. After speaking with my sensitivity readers, we all agreed that it was realistic for someone born before Katrina to be named that, and that as long as it was addressed how tragic it was, that it would be okay. I tried to do my due diligence by having sensitivity readers for it. I apologize and absolutely no pressure to read the ARC at all. Put your mental health first always. You know, to her credit, she is taking this really well. I do think, though, that saying, oh, it's realistic for someone to have that name from before it happened, yeah, that would apply definitely if someone was coming to you like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you would use that name in the book at all, even if it had nothing to do with a storm-based romance or anything. It's kind of like when all that stuff with ISIS was happening, people who had the name ISIS were being attacked online and stuff when it's a historical name that is ancient. It's unreasonable to expect people to change their names, etc. I totally get it. It is something different entirely when you are going for a theme and purposefully pick painful names that fit that theme. You're not being historically accurate by choosing to name your hurricane romance interest Katrina, even if the name had been Sandy or Ian or any other number of disastrous hurricanes. Jazz responds, in all honesty, I think you should still change the name. Jensen says, I appreciate the input. Not sure how doable that is with release in just over 2 weeks and ARC's already out in the world. I will definitely do a better job at warning readers, though. Maybe I should make a post specifically for that. Jazz says, you definitely need new sensitivity readers. There's no world in which that's okay. Katrina was a huge tragedy, and using that in a romance book is completely inappropriate and insensitive. You and your team need to really rethink this whole release. Jensen answers, I made sure to have sensitivity readers who lived through Katrina. I'm very sorry the content was upsetting, and I will be sure to add a third means of warning for the content. It's unfortunate, just not feasible for me to change the name 2 weeks before release. Like I said, put your mental health first, no hard feelings about passing on the arc. Thank you for letting me know. I will be speaking with my team about what options we can make happen this close to release. I will update you on what we decide is best going forward. She is saying that she's going to figure out what she can do. I do think that she is approaching this in a good way, taking responsibility, trying to find a solution. A little bit earlier being like, well, I don't think we can change anything. Kind of flip-floppy, but she does bring it together later on. Jazz says, I honestly only even signed up because the title and cover caught my eye. If I had known it would have this, I wouldn't have even applied. I will also be removing myself from the ARC Street team and would appreciate if you would remove me from receiving all future emails or updates. People started responding to the Threads post. I'll Sprinkle Author says, Hurricane Katrina was a huge tragedy that disproportionately affected Black people. Even if it just happened and wasn't intended as a joke, keeping the thread there feels extremely disrespectful, not just to the victims of the hurricane, but to the entire Black community as a whole. If the author doesn't care about that, they have some things to unpack. We then have Jensen come forward on a different account, I'm assuming her personal account, saying, hello, this is said author. I definitely do care and said multiple times I would be speaking to my team about steps to fix this in time for release. That was conveniently left out of this post. Hope that helps. Starfire posted these screenshots of the conversation after Jensen came to give some more context from her side. Starfire, aka Jazz, then says, I'd just like to say that no one put you on blast and you're doing it yourself. I was just trying to see if people would agree that the situation is inappropriate. But yes, you did say you would speak to your team about what you could do to change it after saying multiple times that you wouldn't be able to do so 2 weeks before release. Yeah, the original post didn't mention any names, and it wasn't until she came and named herself that Starfire actually posted the receipts. Books Spicy and Coffee Icy says, thank you for this additional context. The author posted about this but failed to mention hurricane was in the title of the book and that it's a storm romance. She just said the name was Katrina, so why is that an issue? Ray Quigley says, yeah, I was about to comment in support of the author but decided to come see what this initial post was and I'm glad I did. Being hurricane related and choosing the name Katrina is wild. BH Sprinkle Plot Dreamer answered, I agree with the no and insensitive votes. Change the FMC name, that would be best. If it feels wrong, it likely is. And Starfire responded, that's what I told the author. She said it wouldn't be feasible so close to release. Amelia Wright made her own post sub-tweeting Jensen's. Just to be clear, I saw and engaged with the post she's talking about. Her name was never said, neither was the title of the book. She freely outed herself in the comments. I personally think it's a little strange to name your white main character after a hurricane that disproportionately affected the Black community in New Orleans. As in, she literally said the character is named after this event and the book is a storm romance. But hey, that's just me. Roby Loxley responded, it would still be bad if it was a mistake, like the author chose the name and title separately and didn't connect the dots. But the author deliberately chose the name because of the title and it's a storm romance. That makes it extra messed up. If they wanted to name the female main character of their hurricane book after a hurricane, there are a vast multitude of options that don't reference one of the worst disasters of the century that people are still suffering the effects from. Team, change the name. Yeah, there are so many weather-related names. There was No reason, especially when Audra is just a generic storm-based name and not even like super obvious. I mean, it means storm in Lithuanian, but most Americans, the target audience for this, aren't going to know that without looking it up on behind the name. Going on Google, you can see Elaine means sun ray. We have names like Gale, Ira is snow, Zephyr for the wind, Ayla, might not be pronouncing that correctly, but it's Greek for storm wind. Like that would have been perfect. Nameberry has a page of weather related names, and they list other weather names for girls in the US top 1000 include Autumn, Iris, Sky, and Sunny. For boys, we have Blaze, Keanu, Neil, Samson. Names from other cultures: Brisa, Elio, Varsha, Yuki, Hanish, Sar, Tempest, Stormy. There's so many options. Miles to Go Before I Read points out, I think technically this is the second book and the character did exist in the first book, but that changes it to a matter of a title. She had a character named Katrina and decided to title Katrina's book In the Eye of the Hurricane. That's where it's insensitive. She should absolutely change the name, though don't get me wrong. Just thought I'd chime in on what the author herself said. The name came first, title came second. Still a very conscious decision though. The Reading Mermaid made her own post and I was like, come on, is someone seriously tweaking about the name Katrina? I have a friend named that. It's not going to make people automatically think of the hurricane. And then I saw her book title was Eye of the Hurricane. Dude, what? Sawarson says, wow, the context really makes a difference. It does. It does make a difference. Novels and Novellas says, I was literally flabbergasted someone would be offended over a name. And then I was like, oh wait, nope, there's some merit to this. And Jensen K did make a post a few hours later that I just saw saying, Eye of the Hurricane will not be coming out September 12th. TBD on if it will release at all. Thank you. And Linda's Book of Graveyard says, kudos to you for actually changing things in your book to respect people's feelings. I won't even lie, if I was an author and faced this issue, I wouldn't change a thing. It would be one thing if the book was about Hurricane Katrina, but just having hurricane in the title and the FMC named Katrina, my husband and a few of my friends who lived through Katrina said they see zero issue with this and that they feel sorry for you having to change things due to the cancel culture we currently live in. Girl, I went and polled my family. I texted everyone in my family and asked them, hey, what do you think about this book title having the female main character named this? And they all said, gross. Obviously, I'm not from New Orleans or anything, but I grew up in Central Texas. A lot of people who fled from Katrina ended up moving into Texas. When I was a freshman in college in Central Texas, it was required reading that we read the comic book AD New Orleans After the Deluge. So a bunch of people were still on here saying that like she did nothing wrong. And all I can think is like, imagine someone wrote a romance novel called like War of the Heart or something and then named the character after any of the multitude of wars that we've had in the last century. Like imagine writing a romance novel called like Tsunami of Love and then having the main character be named like Fukushima. I'm just shocked that people are so blasé about this. Insert any tragedy and then making a romance novel have a title that's a pun of this and then name a character after the tragedy. I think another thing to point out is her advertising for the book. So if we go to this Bookstagram account talking about how pre-order is now live, like, okay, pretty cute. But the description is, he's determined to show her how to let go and have fun. She's hellbent on sticking to the plan she made to get her dream job. I'm so ready for this book. The aesthetic is adorable, and I just know Kat is going to be sassy and fun with the tropes. Fake dating, small coastal town, friends with benefits to lovers, boy obsessed, NHL PR manager, female main character, artist MMC, stormed in, spicy, yada yada yada. Just adds more to the whole thing. I don't know, absolutely wild. It would be one thing if it was like a satire deconstructing the things that went wrong. I don't know, pretty funny. So at least she is making the change, but I definitely do think that the author was being misleading initially on purpose to get people on her side. And then people are still on her side. Who are her sensitivity readers? How many does she have? It reminds me of that woman who wanted to write a romance novel about the lawyers fighting all of this ICE stuff going on. People are like, really? Insensitive. Which, yeah. Well, that is all I have for you today. I will see you next time.